Welcome to Mamamia Out Loud. It's what women are actually talking about on Wednesday, the 29th of October. I'm Holly Wainwright, and a big thank you to all the Out Louders who told me I had to do Wordle yesterday. Some of us are still clinging on to Wordle.
You're still doing Wordle.
I'm still doing Wordle.
Okay.
Does that make me very basic?
Yeah, I just can't believe that. For me, it was a real 2-week trend. Do you do Wordle?
I don't do it anymore. Sometimes I do Wordle.
Oh,
do you know about that?
That's high level.
No, it's just fun because you get to learn about weird places. I'm Amelia Lester.
And I'm Jessie Stevens.
And here's what made our agenda for today. Is Nicole really wearing a revenge dress? And does Lily Allen's very messy divorce come with a real estate tie-in? I'm harbouring a celebrity split conspiracy theory.
Oh, that is my very favourite. I want to talk about whether cutting out friendships might just be the ultimate life hack.
And one of my anxiety dreams came true this week. If you are having a rough time at work, if you've had a rough few days, I have 2 stories to make you feel much, much better about how great you are at your job.
But first, in case you missed it, I've got some scurrilous gossip. And look, this is very scurrilous because there is no photographic evidence of what I'm about to tell you.
What evidence are you bringing with you today? Holly.
Sources report.
Okay.
Reported sources.
All right.
Some
At least we're
people
honest.
say. Someone on the internet said
Okay.
a few times. Chris Martin may or may not be dating Sophie Turner. Chris is 48. Sophie is 29. I know this isn't important. They're just numbers. But, just for the files. And also in my defense about bringing Scurrilous. Remember when we did some Scurrilous about Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau, and they're basically married now.
How right we were.
Now, just a little refresher for everybody in case you're like, who and what? Chris Martin, we don't need to explain, do we?
Gwynnie's ex.
Ah.
That's what he's mostly known for.
Only recently broken up with one of your it girls, Dakota Johnson.
Yep.
Sophie Turner, I like to think of her as chaos. I like her a lot.
Is she?
She's definitely chaos. Definitely.
She's Game of Thrones, and she split from
Joe Jonas.
Joe Jonas.
And then
yes.
and that was all, whatever it was. And
They got a couple of kids
they've
together,
got a couple
maybe.
of kids together. They had, I still remember their wedding pictures because they had a fabulous, ravey young person's kind of wedding and stuff. Anyway, they broke up. That all happened. And then she's been dating the impossibly named, very posh guy called Peregrine Pearson.
And who's he?
He's an aristocrat from England. And they were, this is what I mean about chaos, which I love about her, most recently seen at somebody's fancy wedding, bickering and arguing between feverish snogs on the dance floor.
Well, I hope they weren't actually feverish. That sounds a bit contagious.
Yeah. Just, mingling sweat. Anyway, sources say that Chris and Sophie have been seen out on secret dates. And this is very exciting for everybody because apparently Sophie's a big fan of Chris's. Back in 2020 when she was still with the Jonas, he got Chris to record a video message for Sophie once like, hey, I'm with your husband at a restaurant and I wanted to say hi, happy birthday, whatever. And Sophie Turner melted and was like, oh my God, it's Chris Martin, and started to cry.
Oh.
Okay.
And now she may or may not be
Holly,
dating him.
that's such a deep cut. I'm impressed.
Do we? What do we think about this new pairing?
Can I say that every time I hear about Chris Martin dating someone, it's like a Mad Lib? I'm always like, that's so weird.
His taste is interesting.
His taste is very eclectic.
But I feel like he'd be so romantic. He'd write a song about you. I think there's a depth to Chris Martin I am profoundly attracted to. I reckon he'd be a great boyfriend.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I like the sound of Peregrine Pearson better.
You might think you're having a bad day at work. Recently, I told Holly about this. I'm not sure if I told you, Amelia.
Was this in the group chat you have with me or without me?
It actually wasn't. It was in person. I was meant to have a very important meeting with a very important person at 3 p.m. and I checked my phone at 4 p.m. to a message that said, hey, Jessie, are you still coming? And it was that sinking feeling.
Yep.
It has kept me up at night.
Yep.
It's ruined weeks of my life, just so stressful. But 2 stories this week have come up that make me feel better about my own ineptitude towards my job. The first, a number of high school students from 8 different high schools in Queensland were taught the wrong subject for their ancient history exam. They were meant to learn.
They were taught cooking or something.
No, this is the thing, right? They were meant to learn about Julius Caesar. but they were accidentally taught a whole topic, a whole module on Augustus Caesar, who is very much a different person, okay?
I'm not sure I know who Augustus Caesar
Okay,
is.
one of them was the first emperor of the Roman
Got that one.
Empire, and one of them wasn't.
Oh.
Yeah. And neither have really anything to do with Caesar salads.
Oh,
Okay.
You can tell I didn't do well in my end of school exam.
And teachers worked out the error 2 days before the exam. 2 days. One school organised a cram session and went, you know what, let's just all sit in a room and try and get across this Augustus fellow. Wait, no, Julius. We have to get across this Julius fellow, and tried to prepare them. But I keep imagining that there was one teacher or employee from the Department of Education that was meant to send out an email
Oh, God.
or a doc, right? They were meant to update a doc. They were meant to do a thing. And they accidentally wrote Augustus instead of Julius. And now someone has gone on stress leave. Am I right or am I wrong?
Definitely right.
There is another story that is doing the rounds. This is a second person having a very bad day at work. On Wednesday, do you reckon it's the moon? I think it's the moon.
It could be the moon.
On Wednesday of last week, the Bureau of Meteorology, or the BOM.
The bomb. It will always be called the bomb, even though I know they don't like it. You're stuck with it.
Exactly.
Deal with it.
It's the BOM. It launched its first major website revamp in 12 years. Great. I think Mamamia is about to do a bit of a
big revamp on the weekend.
You need to evolve. You need to evolve, right?
Like with my eyeliner.
Exactly right. Exactly. It cost $4.1 million. It was meant
That's
to be
expensive.
sleek and modern in its redesign. What could go wrong? What ensued has been described by a staffer at the BOM as an absolute shit show, which is not how you want your big project
This
of
is
the
a
year
source.
described.
This is the same source that's chatting about
As
Sophie
opposed
and
to a
Chris.
shit storm that you could have seen coming on the old bomb website.
Yes, but you won't see coming on the new BOM website. Look, have you ever made a website so bad you find yourself being pulled aside by the government? Personally, I haven't. Here are some of the issues. All right. They decided to launch this new website, which was really, they said there'd been some testing, but not proper testing, at the very beginning of the Australian storm and bushfire season.
Yeah.
Right? High stakes moment. As a result, farmers don't know if it's going to rain. Fishermen in the sea don't know what the wind speeds are. In Queensland,
Fishermen in the sea.
yes, they were in the sea.
They're in the sea checking their bomb apps.
How sexist of me that I called them
And
fishermen.
the fisher people in the sea.
Fisher people in the
are
sea?
checking their phones.
Oh my goodness. We're checking. Couldn't check the wind speeds. In Queensland, residents checked the site, which said there are no storms coming. And they said, I'm looking out my window and there are hailstones the size of golf balls ruining my car.
Oh, darlings.
They forgot about one town in Brisbane called Caboolture. A little bit disappeared from the website. They forgot about Caboolture. They've got Samoa.
no.
They've got Papua New Guinea.
dear.
But that small town, if you needed to know if you needed an umbrella today, nah, we forgot you off the map. To be clear, not having a functional BOM website can literally be life-threatening to Australians. Like, I think it's something like 8 million Australians use it all the time. There are people who are in the midst of natural disasters who need these updates. And we often say here, when we f*** up, which is often, we're not saving lives.
Oh, God.
Someone at the BOM could be.
I know.
The federal government has stepped
Jessie,
in.
the fact that you keep calling them the bomb through all this while you're reprimanding them, you know what that's doing to them, right? You know.
It's poking the bear. They
the
really
Bureau. Is that so hard? The Bureau.
The Bureau.
It's not. They will always be the bomb.
The bomb.
And look, the federal government has stepped in and they've said, no, seriously, fix it. It's really bad. And some man or woman is trying to defend themselves in a meeting right
Oh,
now.
I feel so sorry for them. Because, they know they're getting the blame and they know that they had actually been saying to Greg or whoever the lead was, like for ages, I don't think people are going to like that we've made hail black instead of red or whatever it was. I don't think people are going to be like it. And Greg was like, don't be a stick in the mud. Change, evolve or die.
Yeah.
Swim with the tides. We've got to change, blah, 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 blah. And now you're copying it. Greg's like, I told you they wouldn't like it.
Do you know what they remind me of, the bomb? They remind me of that friend that's always trying to change up everything about themselves and telling you that they're this new improved version. They're Mia or they're Liz Gilbert. They're kind of the Liz Gilbert of government departments. They're always like, no, we've changed. We're the bureau. They changed the colour of hail from black, which everybody kind of understood as ominous, to yellow, which is cheery.
Well, look, Sunny, we like what you do. Keep it the same. It's absolutely fine. When Instagram does an app change, we get really angry because we're like, I don't just want reels or whatever. But at least Instagram, again, isn't saving lives. They're mucking around with things and they're like, oh, look at you guys resistant to change. And we're like, no, you've left out portions of the country and no one knows if it's raining. It's very stressful for us. And look, it's only Wednesday and that person having a bad week. Just can't wait for the weekend. Holly,
big love to you.
You used to be a manager. I mean, can you just give, because we don't know, this person who created the website is likely a listener.
Probably.
Any words of encouragement to them or the person from the Department of Education who, like you, doesn't know the difference between Julius or
Excuse
Augustus?
me, words of encouragement for them. What about the residents of Caboolture who are listening to this?
I know.
We're sending love to them right now.
We definitely
Sending
are,
love.
but I just, knowing how, bureaucratic levels work, I just know that the person who's going to be getting all the blame for this is probably was speaking up in meetings but being told to shushy for quite a long time. And they know this is going to be their LinkedIn challenge for a decade to come now. Do I admit that I was part of the team that redesigned the website?
I've got an idea. Say that you redesigned the Bureau's website and no one will know.
Yeah, so true.
They're like, oh, so not the bomb. No, not the bomb.
No.
The Bureau.
The Bureau. Haven't you heard of it? No.
Sounds chic.
It would be kind of fun not to make light of this, but to decide what colour all the weather should be. Like,
I know.
what colour should hail be, really? Like, what colour is hail? It's like pale grey. But that doesn't read very well.
It used to have dots, which was really clear, and now there are no dots. There's just a general setting.
Do you know one weird thing on the Apple weather app? It's a bit of a conspiracy theory. In countries with Fahrenheit, 69 is a common temperature.
Yes.
But there's a conspiracy theory that the Apple weather app doesn't say 69.
Really? It won't say it. It sort of just says
Really?
68 or 70.
That's funny. Sidebar, my son was telling me the other day that very similarly, maths teachers will not now set any problems where the answer is 67 because of the whole 6-7 thing. Speaking of people having a bad day, my heart goes out to every maths teacher in a room full of teenagers or tweens who are just going 6-7 every time you put some numbers on the board.
We live in hell.
So they can't have any more problems where the answer is 67.
Every now and then I like to check in on Hannah Nealman.
So do I.
Ballerina Farm, right?
One of my friends.
I do it like maybe once a week to see how she's doing.
What you doing? How's the sourdough?
When I missed my meeting the other week, I was like, I might just check in on her. She doesn't have
Was she milking a cow?
Job. Well, she wasn't late for anything, was she?
Well, speaking of how she structures her days, she recently shared with us what an average week looks like. And, well, there was something very interesting about it. Let's take a listen.
On Tuesdays, I try to film a reel that I'm going to edit and post. On Wednesdays, we meet with the directors as a team. On Thursdays, I have my meeting with the marketing team. So every day looks a little bit different. I don't know if it's well balanced, but it's always a work in progress.
So we've made the observation on this show before that trad wives actually do a lot of work in the service of selling their existences as trad wives. And obviously Ballerina Farm is no exception to this. It sounds like she's very busy with her paid employment during the week. But watching this clip, I had another realization, which is that Ballerina Farm never really talks about friends or having friends. Ideally my week would involve going out for some margs on a Thursday night. But
she doesn't do margs, Amelia.
No.
Trad wives do not, their friends do not appear in their content. If they do have friends, it's not part of their narrative.
They just don't. And it's interesting because I assumed at first this was maybe just because they don't talk about it or maybe they're too busy, but it could be a strategy. There's another trad wife adjacent influencer. Her name is Brooke Raybould, who is very deep in MAGA world. I've been following her for a number of years, and she recently posted something very provocative about cutting out friendship as a way to self-optimize as a mother of 5 children and as a wife. Here she is.
Growing up, I chased friendships, thinking the more I had, the more full my life would feel. But I never fit in with big, loud circles. I usually clicked with the one person off to the side, the person I could breathe around. But now I found my dream circle right here in my home. 5 built-in best friends for life, and I married my 6th. Plus a business I could get lost in. My life is already full, so if I make time for something extra, it has to be worth trading for what I already have. So no, I don't do mom's night. I don't thrive in small talk, not because I'm cold, but because life is short.
It's pretty ruthless. But listening to it, I have to admit it had a certain logic. Jessie, you don't have a lot going on right now, so I'm wondering if you're really leaning into your friendships more fully.
Isn't it funny? My algorithm is serving me a lot of this content. She is not an outlier. This is part of a trend that I am seeing of women saying, I am a mum and I don't have friends and I don't feel ashamed about it. And then the comments or the general sentiment is your husband is your best friend. Like you do have a friend, it's your husband. So the idea is that the family unit is closed and that you get everything you could possibly need from the people that are your family, right? And I'm trying to offer the most generous interpretation for this because when I think about my friendships, the emotion closest to the surface is guilt. I feel bad about my friendships most of the time. I feel as though I am not a good friend. I feel as though when we talk about all the balls that we're trying to carry, that is certainly one that you drop.
Because you're in the season of early parenthood.
Yeah. I'm finding it really, really hard. I had a cry over the weekend where I saw 2 of my closest friends. I saw them and only saw them for an hour. And for that hour, my toddler was being very demanding and we didn't speak to each other.
Oh, it's so hard.
It's real. And then you go home and I was like, I miss them. I miss my friends so much and I feel like shit. And there is a sense that when you feel bad about your friendships, that you can kind of switch it to my friendships make me feel bad. And what we do sometimes is I think we retroactively decide that something's a choice. I can totally see how at a busy time when you go, all right, I'm trying to prioritize absolutely my children, absolutely my marriage, absolutely my career and doing a little bit of exercise and cleaning my house and all of that. And you look around and go, I can't remember the last time I saw a friend. That there is something almost empowering or freeing about going, oh, I chose that. Yeah. It's alleviating guilt and shame that I think is just another thing that women carry, which is I do friendships really badly.
I think most women, particularly parents, but not only parents, don't see their friends as much as they'd like. It's something that we often get as feedback about our show is that they're like, oh, I miss my friends because I don't see them so much because X, Y, Z, and you guys make me feel like I've had a conversation. Like that is something that people tell us because I think that friends fall to the bottom of the list a lot of the time because it's almost seen as selfish. Like if you're dealing with children and work and running a house in inverted commas, because I'm always confused about quite what that means, but apparently it's a thing, running a house, keeping your relationship going, all those things, then wanting to go for margs, Amelia, to your point, or non-alcoholic beverages or coffee seems like a bit indulgent, a bit like, is that to the main aims of our family? I think there are 2 things here though, and you've both touched on one of them, which is the stuff we're being served, and thank you for introducing me to this lady, Amelia, because I now have a whole new trad wife obsession. Like, some of this content is very much coming from a conservative Christian US viewpoint, and without wanting to overstep, like controlling men and controlling systems never like women getting together. Because there's an element of bad influence danger there. Like a controlling man in a relationship, and obviously I'm not suggesting that about these women's husbands, but I just mean anecdotally, we've all would have seen this in our lives. Always, like, doesn't like the girlfriends. The girlfriends are bad influences. The girlfriends might talk about what their relationships look like or what their houses look like, or they might offer opinions about their relationship that are, not great. It's something from a playbook of a narcissistic, coercive dude. So there's that side of this, which is about isolating a woman to think that the home is everything. But then, as you've said, Jessie, there's just the very practical nature of how much time and energy you have. And you do have to prioritize. And so clearly, Amelia, you do prioritize friendships. How do you do that, like, practically?
Well, I feel conflicted about it. It's funny that Jessie mentioned that when she thinks of her friendship, she thinks of guilt. And Jessie's guilt comes from the place that she feels she's not maintaining them properly. And if I'm really honest with you, my guilt comes from a place of wondering if I have the balance right between how much time I'm spending with my family versus how much time I'm doing things like spending time with my friends, or you could put other things in that bucket, exercising, scrolling Reddit.
Stuff, yeah.
Insert favorite activity here. So I'm actually fascinated by people who are able to be a little bit ruthless about how they spend their time, a little bit more considered. Maybe considered is a better way of putting it. People who are able to be practical and upfront about the fact that, you know what, right now I just don't have time for this particular dimension of my life. And this came up the other day because I was talking to friend of the pod and You Beauty host Lee Campbell, who is my life idol in many ways. And she said something that really kind of made me stop in my tracks. She said, I just don't have time for friends right now. And I really admired the honesty with which she said that. She's not trying to people please. She's not trying to pack every single thing in this season of life right now. She's saying, I don't have time right now for my friends. And I asked her about it afterwards because I wanted to check she was okay with me talking about it on the podcast. And she was. She said that her friends don't have time either. She says they've all got small children, old parents, lots of work. They've tried to make a date for February, but even now people are like, I can't do that date. I can't do that date. And it's starting to look too hard. And she feels conflicted about that too. I'm not saying that she feels completely happy with where she's landed, but there's something liberating, I imagine, in just being able to say, in this season, that's not my priority.
But there's a danger there, right? Because not for Lee. I mean, I'm not speaking specifically to Lee. And I also know that Lee has this very core, tight group of mates that will still be there when they all lift their heads from this season. But the danger is, and when we talk to women about friendships a lot, and when you're in different seasons, is will your friends be there when you've decided, it's time again now. Like, my kids are a bit older and they need me a little less. I can leave them at home. I can do whatever, or work's backed off a bit or whatever. And now I have time to see you. When this lady decides that she's got time to see her friends again, what if her friends have all moved on?
And also, you make a really good point, which is that Lee does have that close group of friends. I feel like my friendship model is more satellite friends, and you can't let the satellite friendships kind of wither on the vine because you don't have that group to support it. If I go AWOL on a sort of single friend versus a group of friends, it's much harder to pick it up afterwards.
It is interesting because I've always thought of myself as social, and I love my friends, and particularly when I lived in Sydney and had young kids, my friends were family in lots of ways, as we've talked about before. But very often now, if I have a weekend where it is just me and the family, I'm very happy. Like, I don't know if that's age. I don't know if it's just the season I'm in with, like, a lot of travel and being busy, so it feels like a treat to be at home. So I think I can almost see that appeal in a way that I never would have been able to see that appeal 10 years ago.
Yeah, simplifying. And I think the latest graph I saw, because there's a lot about the midlife squeeze and friendships falling off a cliff. And they say that it peaks at about 18, which makes sense. I think about my 18th and I go, who are all of those people that I knew? Even my 21st, like, I had this massive group of friends and acquaintances, and that was my whole life. Socializing was my whole life. And apparently it is just on a steady decline from about 18. It hits its lowest point at around 39 and stays there till your 80s, which is interesting that graph, and there might be other data, but it sort of suggests that when the kids do leave home, there isn't this enormous kind of, and I know that the kind of empty nester moment, there's a lot of loneliness in that, because you then look around and go, well, hang on, where did all my
We're
friends
taking
go?
up lawn bowls. We're doing chair yoga. We need to rebuild a circle.
Holly, I have bad news for you because I think you basically are agreeing here with MAGA influencer
know.
Brooke Graybold. She quotes in that same Instagram post a male influencer called Alex Hormozi, who I'm not familiar with. Have you come across
I'd
him?
heard his name before, yeah.
And I think he's kind of manosphere adjacent. He says the older you get, the fewer friends you have, not because you're less social, but because you have higher standards. Holly Wainwright.
I don't know about that. I don't know that I have. Oh, well, okay. Generous read. I mean, clearly I am on my journey to becoming a trad wife. There's no question.
Yes.
Running a household once and for all.
I mean, whatever that means. Do I, as I've gotten older, have I definitely gone, without wanting to sound awful, like that particular relationship doesn't really add anything either way.
Yeah.
I'm fine if we don't catch up for coffee. Yes. Would I also feel amazingly sad to sort of come out of this busy time and realize that I didn't have a circle anymore? Absolutely. So I think we're back to the guilt and shame that Jessie's feeling.
Yeah, I don't think it is higher standards. I'm not sure that it is. I think that that as people go in different directions, and I mean, whether they move interstate or some have children and some don't or whatever, like life circumstances just change people. I think that if you don't foster it, if you don't water it, it doesn't grow. And that you can just look around and go, I think about friends I lost in my 20s. I'd love to pick up the phone and call, but it just feels too awkward.
So do you feel, having heard Brooke Graybold's perspective, this is a genuine
life
question.
lessons from her, because as we've acknowledged, we need to restate there is a political agenda to some of this.
Yes, there is. For Brooke, there certainly is. I think Ballerina far less so, but for Brooke there is. But nonetheless, Jessie, do you feel a little bit liberated, a little bit relieved to hear it said out loud that maybe you're just in a season where you don't have time for friends?
I think that that's the appeal of a lot of even the trad wife discussion sometimes, is it gives women permission to make a certain set of choices. But I don't. I feel as though it is something that I really, really prioritize. But I've got to be careful that it doesn't just become another stick to beat myself with. It's got to be like, okay, how can we realistically fit this in? And maybe it's not seeing them as much, but still making an effort. I think sometimes it does give women permission to make a certain set of choices.
We are living in a golden age or in a tacky, sticky mess, depending on your perspective, of full disclosure celebrity splits at the moment, right? Two very different cases in points this week. Nicole Kidman's revenge dress and the ongoing fallout from reading Lily Allen's diary. Listening to her album. Two very different strategies. One is sending messages about their feelings post-divorce the old-fashioned way, pointed messages through fashion, and the other, the very 2025 way, notes app confessional through song.
I will say straight men are notoriously good at decoding fashion messages.
Amelia, tell me a bit about Kidman's revenge dress, because she was at this Vogue World, which I don't know,
No
fashion
one
show
understands.
concert happening.
She's like a Chanel ambassador.
She
Does that
is
sound
at all
right?
Baz Luhrmann was involved. Vogue World is some kind of streaming event. I think we have to refer to it as a streaming event from here on out. And she wore this dress that immediately evoked for me Diana's famous revenge dress, which some would say is the OG revenge dress. Black, strapless, crepe, figure hugging. Is that fair to say?
Yes, she wore that to Diana, that is. She famously wore that to an event in London on the night that I think either her divorce was finalised or Charles and Camilla's tapes were coming out, or one of the big moments. I can't remember exactly which one.
It had been revealed that Charles was the infidelity.
Yeah.
Like
So
in the
it
wake
was-
of infidelity, she came out looking like that.
It was one of the big moments in their divorce. And she came out looking like that. And also at the time, that was seen as quite a racy, like a frock for a royal to wear. They didn't generally bare their shoulders, that kind of stuff. And it just took every headline, every front page was just Diana's revenge dress.
And for me, this Nicole revenge dress, fairly or unfairly, it hit different for me Because the Diana revenge dress, the sort of sentiment around that when that occurred was, you go, girl. It was great. It was her showing that she didn't need Charles, that she had moved on from his betrayal. She looked amazing doing it. It was very clear what her message was with it. But when Nicole came out in her revenge dress, and again, rightly or wrongly, my mind goes to the comparison, I have to admit that I felt a little exhausted. I feel like I know too much about this separation already. Like I've been getting nothing but subliminal messages from Nicole for weeks now, and I just don't want to hear about it from her anymore.
Do you think that you don't want to hear about it from her when the woman has literally not said one thing?
Yeah,
she has not said one thing. But she is sending messages. Yeah, I'm not arguing with that.
She is sending messages. So her first public appearance after the split was announced was at Paris Fashion Week, which she attended with her daughters. Message number one.
Definitely message.
And look, Nicole is free to go to Paris with her daughters. That sounds so lovely, and I'm so glad for her that she got to do that. But the outfit she chose was very pointed. She wore jeans and a white shirt to a fashion show. It was a fairly businessy look. It was sort of, to me, it
so what
said,
was the message?
Back to business. Now, I will point out that the jeans were cashmere and the shirt was custom made and cost $7,000. But the overall look was no nonsense, back to business, nothing to see here. A very different message to now what she's telegraphing with the revenge dress.
I want to analyze a little bit more about the revenge dress message, because so the Vogue World thing was all about old Hollywood. Yeah. There was a theme of old Hollywood, right? And the dress was actually incredibly reminiscent of Rita Hayworth, who sung a song in the 1940s in a film called Gilbert. And the song was called Put the Blame on Mame. Yeah. And it's all about not putting the blame on women. And she used that song. It was so shocking at the time, because she used that song to say women are being blamed for all the problems men create. The song is about revenge. It is about rebellion. And it's a moment in the film where she goes from being this passive object of desire to an active, defiant participant in her own story. And the dress, if you put them...
There's a lot of layers to this.
Oh, yeah. If you put the two dresses next to each other, identical.
And also, I think she
sung the song.
She sings some of those. So that's what she was officially there to represent, was the Gilda vibe.
I'm going to go deeper on the fashion law here. It's not her first revenge dress. Back in 2001, at the premiere of The Others, where she knew she'd run into Tom Cruise, who she was recently separated from, she also wore a black strapless dress that many compared to Diana's and which many called a revenge dress. So she has form here for trying to convey messages to us through her clothing.
So here's my question about this, is that so Keith Urban, while all this has been going on, has been on stage every night. He's at work, right? His tour finishes this Friday. He's been on this massive tour.
Well, and he's serenading someone in his band.
Well, she disappeared very quickly after that happened. Yes, and Maggie Bauer, who's the young guitarist who everyone was like, she's the other woman, very quickly disappeared from the tour. She was never supposed to be the official messages part of his official touring band. She was just a guest for a few shows, and now he's got a different...
Like me on this show.
Yeah, and now he's got a different female guitarist. But it's interesting that, Keith Urban's been going out every night, back to business, back to work, and no one's questioning what he's wearing or what messages he's sending.
Well, people are questioning. When he serenaded Maggie on stage, yes. I think there was a lot of questioning.
There was also a time when one of the women from the crowd, he was doing some crowd work, and he goes, "What's your name?" And she goes, "You don't want to know." And he's like, no, I really do. And she goes, "It's Nicole." And then Keith does a big comedy feint on stage what is that? Anyway, so he's been going about his business.
Yeah.
But funnily enough, his fashion choices don't make front page news. Is Kidman, what do we think would be the ideal scenario for Kidman not to be her divorce to be analysed by every time she steps out of the house?
Look, I think that's so fair, Holly. And look, wouldn't we all want to look like that in the wake of a terrible breakup? We've all had some version of revenge dresses in our lives if we've had breakups, and they haven't typically been cashmere Chanel. But, if I had the option, I would lean into it. But I will tell you what my concern is, and this is not directed really at Nicole so much as the Nicole and Lily of it all. And that is that I worry that the gossip around celebrities is starting to overwhelm what they're famous for. It's almost like with Lily in particular, Taylor Swift walked so Lily could run. And what I mean by that is we all loved dissecting Tortured Poets Department to understand her relationship with Joe Alwyn and then her relationship with Maddie Healy. And did we lose the music in all of that?
Yes, to a point, but also I would argue that Lily had already laid that track. Like Lily Allen, and I want to get to my conspiracy theory about Lily, but this is not a departure for Lily Allen, like writing really confessional music that, you know, basically slags off people around her. She's done it famously with her brother when he was young. She famously wrote a song about a guy who was really bad in bed and always made her sleep on the wet patch. Like, her lyrical style is very different from Taylor Swift's in that it isn't metaphorical. It's just here, right?
But
so here's my thing.
The difference is, and it is unusual for us to know exactly who she's talking about, and I am so in two minds about this. On the one hand, every time I read about this or even listen really to any of the songs, I feel a little bit like I need a shower. I feel as though I am subject to details that aren't any of my business. Like, I've got my ear pressed up against a wall. Maybe I would feel more comfortable if I knew that it was shared by both of them. But I suppose the fact that there is one version of events, and I've been reading this brilliant analysis, and it was someone saying, you know, she's the new doula for divorce. Women need a doula for divorce, and this is the Great Divorce album. But at the same time, she's saying, and I keep checking if David Harbour has turned comments back on Instagram, because he's had to just disappear.
Okay, welcome to my conspiracy theory.
Okay.
This album isn't even a week old, right? This story has a long way to go. And although, as we discussed on Monday, it was written from a wound, it hasn't actually been released from a wound. It was recorded in December last year. The split was announced in February this year. As you're seeing in all the press rollout right now, all the fancy shoots for interviews, behind-the-scenes videos of her making it, this is a strategic launch of a piece of art, right? So it might feel like she just and then put it out, but that's not what happened. What's interesting to me is that two things. One of them is real estate related.
It's tough out there, Holly Wainwright. It's tough.
Everybody knows it's tough out there. So my real estate related conspiracy is on the day after we talked about this on Monday, the famous Brooklyn brownstone of the AD video that Amelia dissected so well on Monday's show went on the market for $8 million.
This ruined everything for me.
Yes.
Everything. I read that and I was like, I am sick of celebrities selling me these quote unquote secrets just to sell me things.
Yep.
That's what they're doing here.
Yeah, and this brings in another piece. So has a lot of this all been a ruse to get the pictures of that house back out in the world and then sell it for lots of money?
So
because it's been designed by an absolutely very famous interior designer, who's actually name-checked in one of the songs. One of the actual songs references his name.
In fact, not one of the songs, the first song,
Yes.
the first line.
So they must have sat down with their real estate agent and they went, let's come up with a content plan. And Lily said, hear me out. I'll write an album.
Holly, would you buy the house? I'm just curious.
Shit, yes. If I had $8 million and I lived in New York City, I would totally.
I hate the house with my whole self. I hate that house. There are no windows in the bedroom.
That really freaks me out. You know, New York
out.
City regulations say you cannot call something a bedroom if there isn't a window.
Really?
So some funny business there.
Did you know that in Australia you can't call something a bathroom unless there's a shower?
Oh,
Yeah, it can't just be a toilet.
Anyway, back to so this is one of my things.
Holly.
I know. Look, it's very out there,
leopard
but
print.
you know, it's been in AD, darling. I'm totally stuck up for that stuff. So there's a settlement to come in this divorce, no question, right? It's not finalised, so you know, Lily probably needs some money from that house.
Oh, it's not finalised. So unlike Nicole and Keith, when they announced it, they'd already sorted out those details of custody and so on.
I don't think all the. I mean, obviously, there's no custody here, but I don't think the financials have been settled.
Got it.
On to part 2 of my conspiracy theory.
Get out the red string.
The question of David Harbour's right of reply, because I believe it's coming. Stranger Things season 5, it's the finale. Now, I know you guys aren't Stranger Things people, but half the world has been waiting 3 years for this.
Yes.
The press tour for this would already be well underway. He will have already done lots of interviews, lots of photo shoots, him and Winona Ryder, him and the kids, because he plays a really big part in that show. Hopper is like the rough but lovable heart and soul of that show, right? So he would already have podcast interviews lined up. Like the rollout for Stranger Things, the promo starts on November the 6th. That is less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So conspiracy theory number 2 is that this is very smart. Because this is Lily's moment. It's not even been out for a week, this album. It says Lily. She's number 1 all over Spotify. She's like, this is her big comeback. She hasn't made any music for a really long time. This is her big moment. Everybody's like, oh my God, Lily Allen's back. Let's talk about Lily Allen. In a week and a half, all anyone's going to be talking about is David Harbour. And I think we'll see from what happens with that. If he disappears from that press tour, if it's dark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of like
Kristen Bell.
Yes, or that guy from the Blake Lively movie, how suddenly he just wasn't in any of the things.
Oh, Justin Baldoni.
Yeah. So if David Harbour isn't visible in anything and he's kind of shuffled off and stuff, then I think this is a sideswipe. This is a, the takedown. But if he suddenly pops up on, I don't know, maybe Dax Shepard or maybe not Dax Shepard, given the Kristen Bell situation, but some thinky blokey podcast.
Smartless.
Talking about, no, they wouldn't go so deep, I don't think, but talking about, I've had problems with sex addiction. I've been in rehab. I thought Lily and I had, like a very generous dude take on this.
Yeah.
This is very possible that this is part of a play. That is my
The timing
theory.
just feels too perfect that they didn't coordinate this, right?
Yeah, right.
Like she gets at least 2 weeks in the sun by herself before he steps up.
Yeah, and then he can go, I really wish Lily well. Yes, of course it's awkward for me that that her version of events is there. There's some untruths in there. You know what? That's the famous line that the Queen said. Some of our recollections may differ.
Yeah, yes.
Like he could play it that way and go, I've been getting help for my problems. I've been dealing with this for years. He could do that. And Stranger Things is safe. Do you know what I mean?
I'm very curious as to what's going to happen.
It's got a long way to go yet, I think. A massive thank you, Out Louders, for being here with us. You are our friends. We are yours in your ears. And big thanks to our fabulous team for putting the show together.